HR is an interesting field, is that we assume that we know a lot about how to manage, but quite often our solutions are pretty conservative. So one of the topics that comes up is motivation. So we all know that people are motivated or not motivated. So the question is what's the best way to motivate people? So most people in HR, they say, well, give them work-life balance, give them more money, give them whatever. What I found something different is maybe a little startling, but my solution came from a manager at Oracle. I said, well, how do you motivate people? And he says, I don't have time for that. I hire self-motivated people and then I move on. So one of the answers is don't try to motivate people. It's hard work. You probably won't get it right. Why not just hire self-motivated people? There are such people in the world. You don't have to rah-rah them. You don't have to give them more benefits or work-life balance. They figure that out. Second is motivation, let's say non-monetary motivation. We know in psychology it's a huge part of motivation. You know, a hug or thank you recognition. But when you go to HR and you say, well, who runs motivation? The answer is no one. And there is certainly compensation, but that's money. So it's really, if we pay them, compensation handles it. But how would a manager know how to motivate people without money? The answer is we just don't do it in HR. It's a major failing. So there should be a department in HR, part of comp or not, non-monetary motivation, how to excite, how to challenge, how to cause people to be really excited about their job without giving them more money. Looking at motivation alone is a problem. Look at all the productivity factors. Is motivation one? Yes, but it might not even be the most important one. My approach, which I've tried in companies, is to ask them on the first day or once a year at performance appraisal, what's the best way to manage you? So let me give an example. I, as a person, if I have a manager, I would like to see my manager once a year. We sit down, we prove my results, he gives me or she gives me a pile of money, I move on. But some people like to see their boss 4 or 5 times a day. Well, if you're trying to motivate people, you better ask them, do you want to see your boss once a year or 5 times a day? Because if I saw my boss 5 times a day, I'd quit. So ask them pretty simply, what's the best way to manage you? What motivates you, what excites you, what turns you off, what kind of meetings do you want, what kind of communications. So it's kind of a mass personalized approach. You also give back to them, this is how I manage, so I don't like this, I prefer email, when I yell at you it means this. So we just don't have that function in HR, but it should be how you manage individuals. We hear millennials, we hear all these stereotypes, but every employee is different, and so the key to motivation is to find out what causes people to be productive and to manage to that. And does that require some effort on our part? Sure it does. Continuous learning is another factor which motivates people. So Google is the #1 factor, is that people, even if they're excited about their job, want to be learning. So we have to add that to the productivity factors. You have to be learning. Freedom is another thing that motivates people. So if you notice Google 20% time or Genentech or 3M, they all give employees some flexibility. And so by giving people flexibility, they can then choose their own projects or choose part of the work they do. So that also motivates most people. The best example I know of how to motivate people was the Best Buy example. They put together a ROW program which essentially said, you as an employee figure out how to be more productive. Do you want to come to work? Do you want to dress up, dress down? Who cares? You figure it out. Well, it turns out that the ROW program produced a 35% improvement in productivity. It made a huge difference. So it turns out employees can self-motivate themselves if you give them some freedom. And both Google and ROW and some other organizations have gone to that model. Can everyone be motivated? Yes. Should a manager spend time on it? I'm not sure. But if we sat down and said, what motivates you, new employee, and we managed to that, we would find not only more motivated employees, but more productive.